Hi, I'm Dr. Cindy Dupuy. I have a PhD in learning disabilities. I do diagnostic evaluations, intervention, and advocacy for my families. And then I'm also an adult with dyslexia dysgraphia.
Hi, my name's Kim Sherman. I've worked with kids with dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD for the last 15 years. And I work with kids age range from kindergarten through college.
Okay. And today we're talking about reading textbooks.
Painful, evil textbooks.
Why do you say painful evil, Kim?
Because the kids that I work with look at this chapter, and I know a lot of times now too, schools or private schools or public schools are giving PDFs of articles to read too, but it's still complex and there's a lot of words on them. And the kids go, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to take notes on this and even know what it means?
Yeah, so we actually found a high school biology text, and I happened to pick it because at my core, I'm a scientist. My bachelor's degree is in chemistry. I have a master's degree in secondary education to teach the sciences. So it's a subject near and dear to my heart. I picked it, Kim, because you were like, boy, there's a lot of really complex words in it, right?
Yeah. And I'm not great at science, so I'm going to pretend I'm the kid, because
Yeah.
I have trouble understanding sometimes how complex things go together in science.
Okay. So we're going to look at a Kindle version of a biology book. It happened to be one that actually had, we skimmed it pretty quick. It had kind of the core context. And let's take a look at how I would help a kid actually step through this curriculum, right? So this is a biology book I found, like I said, on Amazon. And we're jumping into the first chapter. And Kim, when you start skimming through this, what hits you?
I say, oh my God, there's all these little pictures. There's like certain words in bold. I don't know what's important first. Like what's the purpose of this article? And I can't even, I don't even know, well, I do in real life, but if I were a kid, I would say, I don't even know what this word means. Mysterious scourge decimating bad populations. What's a mysterious scourge and what's decimating mean?
And
It sounds
scourge,
bad.
right? It's scourge, not scourge. But
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. So that's okay. So I would come in and say, so Kim, if I'm teaching you how to read this book, the first thing I want you to do is not start necessarily at the beginning of the book. Now, this book happens to be pretty good because I typically go to the summary. So, Kim, why do you think I would tell you as a student to go to the summary of a chapter?
By going to the summary, it allows you to know in your head what's important, what to pay attention to. Because usually in a summary, they will highlight, bring everything together that what's important about the article that you just read.
Now, Kim just lost context of just being the student because most of the students would look at me and go, I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
And that's okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed
But
to. Okay.
that's all right. So, yes, Kim, it gives us the context. It tells us where we're going, what we're trying to learn, what they think is important. It gives us a roadmap for digesting that chapter, right? Like what's important and why. Now, another thing that you noticed was a lot of words are in bold. Now, if you were a kid and I asked you, why do you think the words are in bold? What would you say as the kid?
That's it must mean it's important.
Okay. And so then what do we have to do with those words in bold?
If I don't know what the word is, I've got to look it up because otherwise I can't figure out what it means.
You are so not a dyslexic student.
No?
I'm laughing at you because that is a response that a mature adult would say, but
Oh,
most of the kids
sorry.
go, huh, probably important. There's something there. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's true. Most
Right.
dyslexic kids will say, "Ah, it probably doesn't matter," so I'm just gonna
Right.
skip over it.
Doing science. Okay. Why is that in bold? Right. So the thing that I tell kids is we should skim in advance and we should look for the bold words in the section that we're going to read. and make sure that we have some idea of what that means. Now, if you feel like you've got a pretty good idea, and ironically, the words in here are actually
Right,
in blue.
right. Yeah.
And in this particular book, if you clip on, boy, that just happened. What happened there? I I clicked on it to see if it was going to tell me what that was, and it didn't, which is not particularly helpful. So normally we would go to the index or we would go to the glossary and it would actually tell us what the meaning was, or we would read inside the text to see if they actually have the definition of it, right? And ironically, they give us a very nice diagram down here, which most kids go, wow, that's even more text and it's
That
really
looks horrible. Yes.
yes. So we would then have to spend 10 minutes and actually look at that and try and get a sense. Now, I always encourage my students to picture read first.
Hmm.
So when I say picture read, you go through and you look at the pictures and you look at the captions to try and get a sense of where they're trying to go.
Okay, so you and I just talked about this before we started this little session. We talked about creating a bucket in your brain
Mm-hmm.
for
Well,
some kind of
explain what
familiarity.
that means.
You want, okay, what that means is when we're approaching complex literature or a complex
Text.
textbook, um, I need to have some kind of foundation of what the heck I'm reading. And if I can at least look at these, I still say that knowing that title is important to me too. Um,
Yes.
but if I can look at the pictures and see, oh, observations and questions, bats are observed. So it looks like they're watching bats. Then it says something about bats are infected with a fungus. So
Mhm.
it looks like something bad is happening to these bats that they're observing in some kind of experiment.
Yeah.
Am I
Okay.
right?
Yes. So we've looked at what the purpose is. We're looking for the big definitions. What do we do next?
Um, Sometimes what I like to do is I like to read if there's a summary at the end. It doesn't work for all
Uh,
text, but sometimes they give you a great summary, and this may or may not.
well, and that's exactly what I was saying at the beginning is we talked about it's got the statements there, but this has also got a summary at the end. And what often comes with the summary are
Does
questions.
Oh, so are the questions the summary?
No, they're different, but you as an individual reading the text, Kim, if you're that student, why would I suggest to you, which
Mhm.
is a question I ask my students all the time, why would I
Right.
suggest to you that you're going to read the questions first?
Because it makes a lot of times kids with dyslexia and other kids, they don't know what's important. So if you read the questions first, why are you laughing?
Because you're supposed to answer as the kid, and yet you're
Oh,
being
shoot.
the tutor. You're cracking me up. Okay, go ahead.
Well, anyway,
Go for it.
like, why do you want me to do all this extra work, Cindy? I don't know the answer to these questions. And you're going to say,
They're going to tell us where to go. They're going to tell us what we're reading for and why. They are telling us the key concepts of what we're supposed to be looking for. Now, you don't have to read every excruciating word, but the challenge yourself, I think we could skip. We can go back and we see questions on the scientific hypothesis and predictions. We see prediction, observation, hypothesis,
you
observations.
know, that's going to be on the test in biology,
Yeah, right. Um,
right?
and so it gives us context, right?
Hmm.
Now, when we actually go back to look at the text, now we're ready to do a little bit of reading. What's something we often recommend that students do rather than eye reading?
Oh, a lot of times it can be very helpful to listen to the text.
And so they have most computers have an accessibility function, and that accessibility function can actually read the text, and we'll do another session on that. But then we can have kids listen. You as a parent can do some skimming. So, for example, this appears to be a story that's about somebody researching bats. And rather than have your student read that, you might skim it really quickly and say, let me tell you the synopsis of this. This guy was looking for bats. He noticed that there was something going on. We've got dead bats everywhere, and he wanted to find out why. So rather than have the student read this that doesn't get to the content, let's cut to the chase, get the major ideas, and move on to the real text. Okay?
So they're using the story as a way to define the structure of science,
Of the
right?
scientific method, yes.
Yeah, scientific method.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we can jump in and take a look at what the context is and begin to do a little bit of reading. I encourage parents to read aloud to kids all the time. Like I said, you can have a computer read aloud. Um, and another time when we actually have a predetermined text, we'll teach you a summary technique so that when kids actually read a passage like this, they have a way to remember what they've read out of it. But that's kind of how I would set up a student for success before they dive in to read deeply in a textbook. And we will see you guys again soon.